Ludwigia is, generally speaking, one of the best beginner plants on the market in my experience. The wide range of water parameters this stem plant accepts is one of the main reasons I would recommend this plant to just about anybody. And it makes a great jump off point for somebody getting into aquascaping. There are so many variants that have not only been found, but also cultivated of this plant that there's likely a variety that will thrive in your water conditions without you having to make any changes to your water supply. The Ludwigia Ovalis is quite interesting. I have to admit, I am a little bit entranced by just how different this version grows as compared to, for instance, Ludwigia repens. Repens is a common plant that has been around, circulating throughout the hobby for many, many, many years, and there are many different forms of it. Though it typically will put out more of a elongated diamond shape would be kind of the way that I would describe it. The Ludwigia Ovalis tends to put out what, for some reason in my mind, I say teacup leaves, but it are more like just little saucer, like a little bowl that you might serve some soup in or something like that. They're quite rounded, hence the name Ovalis. And this plant distinctly grows a thicker stem and not as long and tall as its other cousins. Let's talk the basics. The pH range is a wide pH range from 5.8 all the way up to 8. Temperature ranges from 68 Fahrenheit up to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Native to Eastern Asia and China. The plant requirements: CO2 is incredibly helpful, not required, but good nutrition in the water column is a must. Maximum height on Ludwigia Ovalis specifically, in my experience, has only been about 16 inches. I've never been able to really get it to grow over 20, 24 inches high, but 16 seems to be about the height that it'll grow, and then it'll start to send out side shoots. Fertilizer demand is generally easy with some kind of liquid fertilizer, not even at a really elevated rate. Just add some liquid fertilizer to the water once every week or two and you'll be fine. I've found this plant to send out a lot more side shoots as it tends to grow tall. One of the cool things about the side shoots are, clip them off, plant them in the substrate, they become a whole new plant. So obviously propagating the Ludwigia Ovalis actually is quite easy. As long as you've got it growing, you're essentially going to be making more of them. Now, with it constantly sending out these side shoots, you can kind of get into a problem with constantly having to do maintenance. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it is something that you should go into this thinking ahead of time that, oh, this is going to be a Ludwigia that I have to trim a lot and also have to pay attention to where I'm trimming more so than its other varietals out there. I would recommend getting some decent little scissors to figure out exactly where you are clipping, and also with the fact that you're going to have to clip off all these side shoots and replant, I definitely would endorse allowing this plant to grow and completely pulling it from the substrate and replanting. That is almost always the best way to do just about any plant out there that is a stem, a rhizome, or even carpeting for that matter. The trimming and replanting is, generally speaking, the best advice that I can give to anybody out there in just about any aquarium if you're trying to make it look as nice and professional as possible. Always stick with pulling the plant out, trimming it, and replanting it. It generally is the best advice I can give you. I had a friend that was giving me a hard time about giving other people a hard time about SpongeBob SquarePants pineapple homes showing up in aquariums, and basically what he was saying was, if you had a SpongeBob SquarePants themed tank, there's really nothing that you could do with it. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't 100% sure I could really do anything with it either, but the first thing I tried to do was grow a bunch of Ludwigia in there, and it worked just fine. And since then, I have utilized the fact that Ludwigia doesn't really need substrate to get going in your aquarium. Now, I of course would recommend to have some good substrate in your aquarium, like I use Fluval Stratum, Amazonia, Brightwell. There's a lot of varieties out there that you might like in a particular way to yourself, but I would definitely recommend a good substrate. It is not 100% required for this plant. It is just so robust and adaptable. On many occasions, I've just added a lead weight to a stem and dropped it into a tank, and it's sent out roots and rooted eventually into something and continued to grow while just being held in that upright position. I have also been able to float Ludwigia just flat up on the top surface. With enough light up there, it will begin to sprout and grow immersed into the air. Now that's a technique I would recommend to anybody that was trying to convert some of this from submerged to immersed. There's a lot of uses for that, particularly in my instances, has to do with terrariums and certain things like that. And hopefully that's a tip that can help you out. But I will admit the SpongeBob SquarePants tank came out worse than I could have imagined, but also somehow better than I could have imagined. I mean, there really isn't much that you can do with neon pink gravel and a plastic pineapple living under the sea and a Patrick lurking around in the bushes, but it does give me hope for the future for making aquariums for my daughter, which I know is invariably going to happen in the future. I do look forward to the day where I'm able to watch SpongeBob with my daughter and have her legitimately know what's going on. Right now it's just exciting, and you know, a couple years from now she'll know the storyline, but right now, flashing colors, bright lights, funny songs, things that are happening are entertaining. Why did we take this SpongeBob adventure off to the side here? That was to explain that even if you're somebody with pink gravel in a little aquarium and you're like, what can I possibly do with this? This is one of the 3 plants I would recommend if you are in that instance and you want to take the minimal amount of effort to move into aquascaping the tank, or maybe utilizing some plants to get your children into what I would consider a fuller hobby than just keeping some tetras in a tank that is not at all like their natural environment. As you can see here in my 240-gallon aquarium, this plant has had no problem establishing itself, growing and spreading and continuing to take over space, and is doing a fantastic job, and I'm really enjoying just how well it is continuing to replicate. I have no advice on where to get this plant, honestly. Honestly, I bought this and it was identified as something else I had to grow it submerged and eventually go, oh, that's what we've got here. And I even had to send off pictures to other experts out there to verify and make sure I had what I think I had. Hopefully this video helped you out. If it did, I would appreciate if you click buttons, hit the join button, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, throw a comment in the bottom. Let me know what's going on. If you didn't like it, hey, let me know too. Let me know if there was a problem or something that you didn't like. I'm happy to hear constructive criticism whenever, and I will talk to you all later.